right, we are ready for another round of the College Basketball Times pregame show. We are here for the big tournament in Arizona, women's only tournament. I am here with the superstar, Ms. Kaitlyn Eaton of Team USA fame, formerly played her college ball at the University of Illinois. She is a Fighting Illini. Kaitlyn, how are we?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I am. Well, I assume Kaitlyn would introduce me, but that's okay. I'll do it myself. I am Dave Barend. I am the president of College Basketball Times, the Grand Poobah, if you will. For those of you who don't know, College Basketball Times is a nonprofit organization. We're not making any money here. Dedicated to equality in all levels of college basketball, including Div 1, Div 2, Div 3, and of course,
Wheelchair basketball.
I thought you were going to say NAIA, but that's okay. We'll go wheelchair basketball. Yes. Yes. We cover men's and women's wheelchair basketball too. So we are here to preview the big tournament taking place in Arizona. But first, we're going to get ready for this with a little tongue twister. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I'll
Kaitlyn,
try.
like we could do like how much wood could a woodchuck chuck or Peter Piper, but I got something. We're going old school. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm
So
gonna
I'll
do my
say it
best.
first and then you go.
All
Are we
right.
ready? All right, here it is. I said a hip hop, the hippie to the hip hop, or you don't stop the rocket to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. All right, your turn.
Oh, something about a hip and a hop and a hippity hop. That's all I got.
Hey, you're not old school enough. This is Rapper's Delight. This is the Sugar Hill Gang. All right, I'll give it to you one more time. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah,
All right.
that'll help.
I said a hip hop, the hippie to the hip hop, or you don't stop the rocket to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie the beat.
I think I'm gonna have to practice that for next week.
All right. All right. That's okay. Okay. So our first segment for this big show is what to watch for. You are going to tell us what to watch for at the big tournament. Now, if I'm correct, there are 3 teams at this tournament. And so,
Yep.
all right, who are those 3 teams?
So we'll have the Arizona women's team, the Illinois women's team, and the UTA women's team.
So you got the Wildcats, the Fighting
Wildcats.
Illini, and the Mavericks, the
Yep.
moving Mavs. All
Yes.
right. So what to watch for here?
Well, I think all three of these, teams are really exciting, and I think all three of them could pull some pretty big upsets going on in this season. Arizona, we're going to start with them as the home tournament hosts. They have a pretty young team. They have a bunch of girls. A lot of them are from the West Coast, a couple East Coast girls too, I think. And we have an Australian on their team, which is pretty exciting because we don't get a lot of Aussies to come over here and play college basketball. But to watch with them, they have Emily Gustafson. She's been on the team for a few years now. She's got height. She's got really long arms, so she's able to guard almost anyone, and she's a pretty phenomenal shooter.
You know where you can see some pictures of those long arms?
Where's that?
College Basketball Times. There is a great story on Emily Gustafson. And you know who wrote that story?
I'm assuming maybe you.
You're assuming, even though I'm sure you've read it like 3 or 4 times.
I actually have read hers, and it is very, very good. So
There you
nice
go.
job. Nice job on that.
I appreciate that. Yes. So usually I'm not writing the stories. Those are done by our student writers. We had a student writer have to quit, so Dave steps up. Yes, we root for Emily Gustafson. Okay.
Yeah.
There's also, I know a little bit about this team. You got Abby Dunn.
Yes.
You can also find a story on her on College Basketball Times, which I did not write. And then I believe one of the co-captains is Sam. Is it McMinn?
McMinn, yes.
There you go. There's a tough trio right there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a pretty good team. If they can work together, and if they can get, Tasha Shadwell into the key, they're going to be pretty hard to stop, I think. Emily shooting from the outside and Tasha shooting from the inside. That's a pretty good duo. And then you have some surrounding people around them, which is pretty awesome. And then, they're coached by Josie Oslickson and
Her
assistant.
last name is not Alaska. I learned
Not
that.
Alaska. It's Oslickson. It took me a very long time to get used to that. And her assistant is Courtney Ryan. And so those are two bronze medalists in the Paralympics. What is happening?
We lost you. We can still hear you. There you go. You're back.
Why is it
Caitlin's back.
doing this?
That's all right.
Okay, well, we need it to stop,
Well, we do. That's okay. But we can hear you, which is a good thing.
I guess. Okay, hold on. I think my computer is just doing a lot right now.
We're okay.
Okay, are we back?
So Josie and Courtney, two
Yes,
stellar coaches.
two stellar.
Unfortunately for the team, they cannot play, but they are great coaches. All
Yeah,
right, so
they're amazing.
that is Arizona. Who else we got?
Then we're gonna go to UTA. Um,
UTA.
they have been playing in some close games this season, particularly against Illinois. So it'll be very interesting to watch how those games turn out this tournament. They just played last weekend in Alabama, and UTA pulled out a really close one. They won by 3, and it was close the entire way through. So I think watching how UTA pulls out in these close games, if they can, come away with the win like they did last time, I think against Illinois at Alabama, they had a humongous steal in the last 17 seconds of the game, I think, and they were able to take it back for a layup. They were only up 1 at that point, so then they go up to 3. So it was pretty incredible. So watching how they can just, hammer out these close games, I think is going to be very, very important for them.
UTA. Do they have sisters on that team, or do they have? There's two people with the same last name, Mary and
That's on Illinois.
that's on it. All right, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Okay, well, we're moving on to Illinois.
Yeah, moving on to
See,
Illinois.
that was not an error. That was a transition.
Yeah, perfect. And
Yes,
they do have twin sisters on their team. They
there you
actually
go.
on their team they have Mary Wagstaff and they have Marley Wagstaff, and they are actually identical twins within a set of triplets. So there's actually a third of them, but she's not identical to the two of them.
Gotcha.
And so you have Mary and Marley, absolutely, and they're both in the starting lineup, which is pretty incredible. I believe they wear number 10 and number 11, so that makes it even more confusing because they're exactly the same. But yeah, they're pretty great. They're wonderful, and they work really well together, which is great because not always does that work out with siblings. But I think another thing to watch for Illinois is the amount of turnovers that they're having in these games. I think against Alabama in the first half they had 19 turnovers,
Whoa.
which is pretty high. And so obviously, they're trying to eliminate that. And if they can come into these games and really get that at the very least under 15, I think, they're giving themselves possessions back and they'll be able to pull out in these closer games as well. So
Now Arizona has a team, or not Arizona. UTA has a Team USA player, do they not?
Zoe Voris.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then Illinois has Ranley.
And Ali Ibanez,
And
who
there
is
you
a
go. They
Paralympic
got
bronze medalist as well. So
gotcha.
yeah, they're kind of sprinkled in everywhere in these college teams, which is very exciting because it heightens, the level of play, which is awesome to see.
So how does that work with rivalry though? They're teammates on Team USA. Um, as someone who was on Team USA, how does that affect them mentally? They're playing against former teammates, they're playing against future teammates too.
Sure. Yeah, from my perspective, I think it makes it a lot more fun. You know, obviously when you know somebody and you know their skill set and you know what they're looking to do on the court because you've played with them on Team USA, it makes it that much more fun because, that's bragging rights for the rest of the season. It's
Good
bragging
point.
rights collegiately, and then when you get to Team USA camps, it's also a little bit of bragging rights. And when I played against some pretty great players in college. Rose Hollerman was at UTA. And
They have to play against you. I mean, let's be honest.
they do have to play, and I don't think they like it too much because I talk a lot when I'm on the court. And I'm sure they'll all tell you that their least favorite person to play against is maybe me. But, to this day, we're not in college anymore. We've been removed for a few years now, and we still talk about our college rivalry days. And so I think it makes it so much more fun that we have a college to Team USA pipeline. I think it's a really good opportunity.
So in this tournament, each team is playing each other twice.
Yes.
How does that add to, so you just play somebody once and they kill you, or even if it's a close game, what does that do to the intensity of game number 2?
I think all of these games are going to be really intense. I think, you play in close games. Some of these teams just played last weekend, so everything is still fresh already. And then you're getting them right back into it this weekend. And so I think every single game is going to be super intense. It's getting into the middle nitty-gritty part of their season, and everyone wants to win. And you want to see yourself win more and more and more and more as the season goes on. And so I think that's going to be one of the really exciting things to watch in this tournament is how intense these games get and who's going to be the one that can fight through the intensity and the frustration of some of these games and come out as the winner on top.
So we're missing Alabama, we're missing Whitewater, and we're missing CUNY.
Yeah.
But would you say that these 3 teams are battling? This tournament might be pretty important for who has the best shot or has the most confidence to take on Alabama.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I think, Illinois and UTA being able to see each other again. They've been playing in close games. They played in close games at Whitewater, and then they just played in close games at, Alabama. And so I think them being able to see each other without the pressure of playing Alabama this weekend is going to be beneficial for both teams. They're going to be able to work on the things that they want to work on, and they're going to be able to see who can come out on top this late into the season. And then it prepares Illinois again for 2 weeks from now, I think, when Alabama will be coming to their home tournament. So these are good preparatory games for, upcoming nationals in about a month.
Gotcha. All right. There you have what to watch for. That was exciting. All right. So let's move on to fan favorite segment, Squirrel Stats. Squirrel.
Yeah.
You are the squirrel. The squirrel. We've established that you're not just a squirrel. You are the squirrel. So give us some stats, some squirrel stats.
Some squirrel stats. I want to give Arizona a bit of a shout out here. This isn't going to sound like an overwhelming stat, but I think it is really good for them. Emily Gustafson against the Fighting Illini back in Whitewater, she only scored 10 points. That's actually relatively low for her, I think. And so I think that's an important stat to look at is because Arizona played a pretty good game against Illinois, and their best scorer only got 10 points. And so I think watching her in this home tournament with her home fans on her home court that she's comfortable with, I think, we're going to see a 15, maybe 20-point game from Emily Gustafson. So I think that's really, really important to watch.
What is, when it comes to scoring, what is a good number? Not just like, all right, what's an is it does it correlate specifically exactly with, say, like stand-up college basketball? Somebody scores in the 30s, they had a great game. Somebody scores in the 40s, that's rare world. Is that about the same with wheelchair?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar. I think maybe you decrease that just a tiny bit. Somebody who gets 30 points in a game, that is an absolutely incredible game from them. But I think, 26, 25 points, that's pretty good. That is, probably the top amount of points that you're going to see from an individual player in wheelchair basketball. I think like the cool thing about wheelchair basketball and to differentiate it from able-bodied basketball is you can actually physically stop people from going where they want to go, which you can't do in able-bodied basketball.
Right.
You can certainly try your hardest, but it's probably going to be a foul or they're going to run right around you. So I think it's harder to see people score up into the 40s. And definitely not 50s generally, because defenses can stop you from getting to where you want to go. And so I think that's important to remember when you're thinking about wheelchair basketball is
Gotcha.
it's basically like one large game of chess of where can I move the defender to where I can get an open shot. And so it's actually really exciting to watch it when you look at it.
Very exciting. Even for somebody like me who really doesn't know all the ins and outs. But shooting percentage. Now, Ranley shooting, I want to say, I got here 53% from the field. That seems pretty high.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that what's a great shooting percentage?
I mean, I think if you're looking at 2-point, field goals, anywhere between 40, 45, I think is an incredible shooting percentage. So the fact that on the season she's shooting over 50%, that means on 1 out of 2 possessions, she's at least making one of those shots, which is absolutely incredible. And that has carried over from last season as well. She was so dominant as a shooter. And so, yeah, I think 53%, I think maybe teams should start looking at that and probably jump her a bit sooner than they are right now.
Gotcha. All right. Any other score? What about one thing I noticed about Illinois compared to some of the other teams? The bench points seem to be lower with Illinois. Yes. Is that something that should be, not to go back to the prior segment, but to watch for?
It is. I think to take into consideration, you have to take into classification. It's tougher because you don't just get, forwards and guards that come to your team, like to your, as a recruiting class, you get different point system. And so sometimes those lineups don't always work. And maybe your bench players don't fit into certain lineups because they have too many points. And so I think that's something to look for. But I absolutely think that, Illinois needs some production off of their bench. Because relying on 5 players for 40 minutes for 4 games basically is really tough. So even if their bench could provide, 5 to 10 points, I think that's going to help them out a lot.
Gotcha. All right, there you go. We had some squirrel stats there. Very good stuff. All right, moving on to our third, the penultimate section of this wonderful pregame show is Kaitlyn's clarification. We ready for this?
I'm ready. Give it to me.
And did you like our little graphic we have with somebody cleaning the window there?
I did. That was cute.
Yes. We pull out the big stuff for the show. All right. So last time we clarified the whole number category system to some degree. And we also determined that though you are a 1.5, you are, of course, number 1 in our hearts. But Absolutely. What we're going to get to now is some clarification for people like me watching. And we see somebody get knocked over and there's no foul. And how does that happen? I don't even know how they get back up, but that's separate. When is there a foul? Like I'm watching, like you had mentioned earlier about how you can move in front of players so that they can't move. That seems to be a forte of UTA's Elodie Tessier. She is like always right in front of somebody. And they move, and then she's right in front of them again. And she moves, and she seems to be laughing the whole time. So talk to me about when there is a foul with that. Because if I was playing, I would want to take her and throw her across the gym. Get out of my way. Yes,
sometimes, I mean, she's a player that can definitely infuriate some people because she's always there. She's a great defender. But, the general rule of thumb is if everyone could look at that wonderful picture of Lindsay Zerbrug up there in the top corner of Dave's screen. If you see that middle part of her wheel, of her big wheel, that is what we call her axle. And so generally the rule of thumb is if that part of your chair is in front of somebody, then you're in good defensive positioning. And so if, somebody were to run into the side of that chair and they were kind of out of control and their back wheels come up off of the ground, that's going to be an offensive foul.
So it's not just bumper cars out there.
It's not. There is a level of finesse with it, but sometimes it does feel like bumper cars. I will say if you use the front of your chair to guard, sometimes it's not a foul if you do it discreetly. But generally, the rule of thumb is if you go foot plate to foot plate, which is what we call that part, with somebody else, it's more than likely going to be a defensive foul because you're not in good defensive positioning. And then
Okay.
you cannot run into the back of somebody who is shooting or just going, you can't run into the back of them.
But you can get in front of somebody,
You
they can run
absolutely
into
can get in front of
you,
them.
and it's not a foul.
Yeah, I mean it's of course it's going to be up to referee discretion, but the generality of it is if the players are in control and it's controlled contact, they're probably not going to be a foul if the defender is in good defensive position. So if offense is out of control and they run into a defender who has great defensive position, that would be an offensive foul.
That would be a charge.
Correct. That would be a
Okay.
charge. And if the
Okay.
defender runs into an offensive player as they're shooting and they're out of control, then it's going to be a defensive foul. It'll be a blocking foul.
But a defender getting in front of an offensive player who does not have the ball is okay. In fact, it's strategy.
Yep. Totally fine.
Gotcha.
Again, it's up to discretion, but if the defender is in control of their chair and not just flying around ramming into people, then as long as they get to good defensive positioning, then it's not going to be a foul, even if the other player falls over, because that's just a part of the sport.
Well, there you go. See,
Yeah.
now we understand a little bit more. We, meaning me and other ignorant people who watch the games, get this a little bit better. All right. We'll learn a little bit more next time too. All right. Final segment
Okay.
is, of course, I think this might actually be the fan favorite, is of course, Eaton with Eaton. Eaton with Eaton.
Yes.
Okay. So last time you mentioned the food to eat during the games would be pizza. Now, might there be a specific food or way to eat during just the women's? This is just a women's tournament we're talking about here.
Just the women's tournament. Yeah, I mean when I hang out with my friends, we generally don't eat the healthiest.
Okay.
I think one of our biggest snacks that we get is either, jalapeno poppers, which we really like, or mozzarella sticks.
Mozzarella sticks. Now, are you making these or are you ordering these?
Yeah, we're ordering them. I would say me and my friends, none of us are great cooks.
So you're doing a lot of ordering.
We do a lot
Okay,
of
and this is
ordering.
just the girls are hanging out with some jalapeno poppers. Now, when guys hang out, there's often some sounds being made, maybe some belching. And as a married guy, I have been told that's not allowed. But is that something that maybe women do when they're together and then they lie to guys later and say, we don't do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to know. Good to know. All right.
We got to be ladies around the gentlemen,
I gotcha. All right. So get some jalapeno peppers and belch as much as you want, ladies. That's your advice. That's Eaton with Eaton right there. Yes. Okay. All right. I think we have another stellar segment of the College Basketball Times wheelchair basketball pregame show.
Yes.
All right. Go to collegebasketballtimes.com, read all about college wheelchair and donate. Donate would be nice. We could use a bucket.
Please donate. Please donate to them. They're amazing to this sport, and we couldn't do this without them. So please, if you have anything in you, please donate to College Basketball Times.
That's appreciated. All right. And maybe a little shout out for our guy Matt Poland there, who puts this together, does the producing. That is it. All right. Thank you, Kaitlyn.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Good luck to the teams.